Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fuck Wellness. I'm Makena.
I'm Mallory.
And I'm Lara.
And today I'm in the hot seat. February is our month of life transitions because all of us are pretty in the mud with some major transitions, meaning we don't have all of the information yet. However, we know that most likely our lives will look significantly different come August. And so we think it's valuable to have conversations when you're in the middle of making decisions and maybe like in my case when you're in the middle of having no clue what you're doing. So,
I feel like it's the month of preparing for life
yeah, it
transitions.
truly is. I expect honestly hope by March I have more information.
I feel like this
Yeah.
is my old coach used to always say, like, we're putting ourselves in a position to be able to put ourselves in a position
Yeah.
to make something happen.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what's happening right now because even though it is like winter, like we are still in January, it feels like July is going to be here in
Mhm.
3 minutes, and I'm
Mhm.
freaked out about it.
No,
You're freaked out about
No, I
it?
know you're probably freaked out about it as well.
I'm like already making plans to start. Like, and I'm hoping that if I did end up staying in Colorado, we can talk about this later, but basically start organizing like sections of our house,
Oh my God.
like coming April, like March, April. Otherwise, there's no way it'll get done. Or
I'm
it'll
so
get done
afraid.
and I will not sleep for a month.
I'm so afraid.
Yeah,
I have
Can
way
you
too much
hear
stuff.
can you hear how loud my washing machine is?
not at all.
Not at all.
Okay, good, because it's very loud.
Not one bit.
Okay, should we dive in?
Yeah, let's dive.
Okay.
Okay.
Laura, do you have a question?
Well, I just want to ask, like, while you're like in this kind of like I have no idea what I'm doing phase, just asking for a friend. If someone is feeling that way and it can feel very like hopeless
Uh-huh.
in a way of like I'm just only getting kind of like signs, not signs from the universe, but like indications maybe that I could interpret as signs from the universe that like maybe I'm in a bad, like on a bad path for what I think my future should be. What do you do to like keep yourself not from like spiraling? Or do you spiral?
Oh, I spiral. I
Yeah.
mean, last week, and we can talk about this more, but last week was a really difficult week for me. I was like truly like, well, maybe actually the week prior. So now we're coming out of it. So the 2 weeks ago, I guess, I was essentially just a weeping mess all week. And that is because I felt so much pressure from myself and time to like make decisions and have answers. And I just didn't have them. And so I think the way that I got through it and the way that I do it is just remembering that it is temporary. Like, no matter how heavy it feels, it is temporary. It will
Mhm.
feel better in 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. Like, there will be more answers as time goes on. And then honestly, just kind of coming back to like trusting that I will know the correct decision to make when it presents itself.
Mhm.
And in the current moment, like for me, like a couple weeks ago, I went to a coffee shop. I sat down and I was like, okay, we're brain dumping. We're going to start laying the groundwork for plans. And it made me feel worse. And so I left the coffee shop and I was just, about to have a panic attack. And I was like, okay, well, none of these things can be solved today. Like, I will not find a new place to live today. I will not be able to handle everything that I want in this afternoon. So I honestly just said, fuck it. And I was like, what can I do now that'll nourish my body and my mind or whatever? And forgot about it
Wait, why did it freak you out to do the brain dump? What was
because I
happening?
think looking at it so plainly, like when I took it out of my brain and onto paper, it made me realize that n- do not know what I'm doing.
Mm,
And not
okay.
anything really has changed between now and then other than like a few ideas I've had, but nothing concrete. So, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, you ready for my question?
Yeah, I just want to say though that is a really hard spot to be in and I think that
Yeah.
I'm expecting to be in that spot for minimally there you go. at least another month, 2 months. So,
Yeah.
in the between.
In the abyss.
Yeah.
In the liminal space.
Exactly.
I know. I say T word.
Um,
Okay, my question for you, Ken, is what do you feel like is the hardest decision that you're having to make, and B, the scariest decision? Maybe they're the same, maybe they're different, like decisions.
yeah, I think the hardest decision is about where I'm gonna live, and that's because I don't have all of the information, I think, at this point. So that's
What information do you need, do you feel like, to
I
make that
mean,
decision?
in order to move, like, I really feel as though I would need something pulling me somewhere. I am no I mean, when I moved to Colorado, I already did the whole, like, I'm gonna pick up and move my life and not know a single person and not have anything, like, set, and I just really am not interested in doing that again. It's pretty lonely for, like, at least a year, and I just
And then your friend moves in and
exactly.
stays in your apartment with you.
Um, yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I got lucky in Boulder, like, I met really cool people, but they moved away also, and so it's just kind of like my friends have it's a pretty transient place, Colorado in general, and so my friends that I've made here, I've kind of moved away or are starting to prepare to move away, and then obviously, like, my household is going through a lot of changes as well.
And is that the scariest decision
Oh, the
too?
scariest. No, I would say the scariest decision is probably it kind of goes along with moving, but I think it would be money. It'd be jobs. Like what jobs will should I keep? What should I let go of? Because I don't know what I'm budgeting for in the next, the second half of the year. So it's kind of like a gamble, it feels.
For the moving thing, do you have what are your top 3 places that you're thinking of?
That's a really good question. And I don't have that. I I mean, right now I feel very drawn to Bozeman, but I couldn't tell you why.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much the only place on my radar.
What are the vibes you're looking for in a place?
Well, eventually, long term, I would like to be on like property. So looking for a spot where that's still within, reason to get property somewhere. Um, Colorado is a little bit too high deserty for me. So I'm looking ideally in like a perfect world for something that's a little more like in the woods, I guess. And um I don't know. I think like being in proximity to mountains is important, like fresh open space. Other than that, not much. Like I don't like to be anywhere hot. So that's my really only requirement. Ideally a yard for Douglas if we're talking like
Huge
housing
yard.
situation. It's not the end of the world not having a yard, but I think he'd like it.
Yeah.
In terms of what's on your plate with like job decisions,
Mhm.
which of those feel like really easy and which ones feel more difficult? Or do they all feel difficult?
Well, I mean, the only job decision I'm really making is if I'm going to coach volleyball or not. So, basically to give you like an overview of my current responsibilities is I have a full-time job, so that won't change. And that full-time job is not enough money to like comfortably for me to feel comfortable, I guess, or for me to
And
save.
it's fully remote.
And it's fully remote, yeah. So, that is like that's not gonna move. I am nannying, like, 3 times a week now, um, and that has a natural end date of in April, so that's kind of, like, already finished, although I will actually, it's kind of May, a natural end date of May. So, that is, like it's nice because it's just kind of naturally tapering off, um The head coach where I used to coach volleyball in the fall, girls volleyball, he quit, and so basically I was asked if I was interested in that role, and that's, like, something that I am thinking about. However, because I don't know if I'll be here in the fall, that's probably not gonna be a factor. And then I also am set to coach volleyball, boys volleyball this spring, so from, end of February, March, and April. So that's, like, really the one that is a little bit too much at the moment. Yeah, good I guess to give reference also, like, it's it's gonna be a 20 to 25 hour a week job on top of normal job responsibilities and, nannying.
I have a question about romantic stuff.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, for like the next few years, do you see yourself more of like moving to a place, like dating different types of people, blah blah blah? Or what do you think is gonna happen romantically?
Laura, this is a loaded question.
Why would you say that?
Well, I okay. This
Wait, can I
is
add a second part to this question
yeah,
before you
yeah.
answer it? In a
You see me
previous
getting red.
pod, you said that you may be interested in dating a wide variety of
Correct.
people.
Correct.
And I just wanted to quickly revisit if there
Yeah.
are any new thoughts on that. I don't know if
I'd
that's
also
what
like
Lara
to
was trying to
know.
get at too, but I just wanted to be more explicit about it.
It was, that's what I meant.
No new thoughts, nothing has changed there. I still feel very open to that possibility. However, I feel as though my time dating is kind of over. So, not like over forever. It just doesn't feel
Like kind of like
like
a casual dating thing.
yeah,
Is kind of
casually dating doesn't really
Mhm.
feel fun or exciting for me anymore. Um And that doesn't feel like a bad thing, it just feels like what it is. And so I'm kind of trying to balance those 2 desires. Like, I do have interest in meeting people and, all different kinds of people, as you say. But I also have this kind of like feeling in my gut that like it's not really the time for that.
Mm.
To casually date or to date different
To
populations of
to
people.
casually date.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess more so being like the app game and do
Mm.
whole that shebang. Doesn't really feel so good. I've been doing a better job at trying to like put myself into like, social settings. Mhm.
Where do you feel like you are at with like body image transitions?
Oh wow. I wasn't expecting these questions. Um yeah, I feel, going home for the holidays was pretty rough in terms of comments about my body or just like I don't know, people perceiving me in that way and I kind of struggled with it because, whether or not the comments are well intentioned and whether or not they seem positive, it doesn't necessarily my body and brain don't register it as positive. And so yeah, over the holidays there was just like a lot of comments how it looked as though like I was thinner and it was not helpful for me to hear those comments at all. And I coming back home, like, have been dealing with a little bit more of a struggle with like um making sure like this like over, not super healthy relationship with exercise and then I got hurt and then that really like freaked my brain out that I was going to have to like stop exercising. Because there's like this weird thing in my brain that it's like everything is fine if you exercise every day. And yeah, so I don't know. It's like kind of tricky. I think like if you struggle with conversations about food, maybe just skip ahead a few parts, but like before, like in the fall, I was having a really hard time with food. Um, and to the point where like I wasn't really eating and like as much as I should have been eating. And that kind of like naturally ended after a little while. And then now I feel a little bit better about the whole situation. So I would say like half and half. Yeah.
When you like imagine kind of, everything's like up in the air right now, feels a little chaotic. What do you imagine and what does it feel like kind of like the end of the tunnel? Like what in like 5 to 10 years kind of what would be the dream situation?
Yeah. So I think that's where a lot of my anxiety is coming from is because I don't know.
Mm.
And I, a couple weeks ago, I think I talked to you, Lara, about this a little bit. And I talked to my therapist of like, I feel as though I don't have any drive. And I shame myself for that because there are things that I'm interested in and I don't necessarily want the traditional career that's associated with it. And because I think I have some scarcity mindset with a few different things, it's like impacting how I view those decisions because I can only see one linear path where like rather than looking at it and being like, okay, that could impact me in more ways than I could even imagine. But in my head, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to go to school for counseling because I don't want to be a traditional therapist, but I want that education. Like I crave that education. So it's kind of like in my head, it's like, oh, that's not like a smart choice to make. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into something that I'm going to have to do for a long time to like repay the debt that I would get.
Yeah. But like even if you don't really know what it's going to look like, what is like the feeling that you're wanting to get?
Mm. I mean, honestly, ugh, I don't really know. I think like if I'm being fully honest, I think my focus would be primarily geared towards a family rather than
Mhm.
like a traditional career path. So that is my, I think, primary feeling is wanting to do that. And then kind of, my career is really important to me. I really like working, but I would need it to be something that like fuels my creativity and inspiration or at least gives me the freedom to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
He's just gonna do some laps. Um, Ken, let's talk about spirituality because I
Okay.
feel like this is related.
Mhm.
Um, well, first of all, on the like feeling like you have lost some of your drive, I feel like what drove you for a long time was like innovation in the spirituality space, like really wanting to change it and
Mhm.
help people find their way. And so
Mhm.
I guess one, I'm curious where you are at with feeling like spirituality will be a key part of your career. And where do you feel like you are at with your own relationship with spirituality? And where do you see that playing a role in these life transitions?
Yeah. I think oof. So, I guess to start out, I think my relationship with my spirituality now is much more integrated into my life than it was before. So, I have been kind of on like a long journey of like really distancing myself from labels or things that like traditional new age spirituality promotes. Not everyone, obviously, but just like mainstream. So that has already been happening for the last at least 2 years, maybe more, really since I started. So, um, I actually last week kind of came to like a big realization, and this is tricky because I had like 3 readings booked this weekend, but like I am not interested in doing readings anymore. And that is like a new decision for me. I It's not that I'm not interested in that same goal of like helping people connect. I am. I don't think that previous methods I thought would be like the vehicle to do that are going to work. And I think that I have new ideas of kind of how that can still accomplish that same goal or like work towards that same goal, but it's really not branded as spirituality, even though it is. But
And that's sort of where like the counseling stuff that you were talking about comes in,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to recognize, like, there are a lot of people in the spiritual space that and I don't really know how I feel about this yet, but, like, there are people who damage other people because they don't have the correct training. There are people who say things that they shouldn't say. There are people who think that they're more important than other people because of whatever reason, and I just think that that is something that's not going to, like, last the long run, and I think that readings are a really valuable and, like, special thing that I am able to do, but I've this is tricky because like, I just feel like I've noticed that I don't think that they're used in the way that I would intend them to be used, and I think that sometimes people rely on me too much is
Mm.
kind of how I'm gonna phrase it, and I think that instead of being someone who tells someone like, there can still be like, parts of that in my work, but I would rather someone use me as, like, a guide in a way rather than
Tell
someone
me
who's answering
everything.
questions, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, which it's
What
been hard for me because I don't wanna, like, undervalue that part of my life or what I view really as, like, a tremendous gift and thing that I'm able to do.
you touched on how spirituality has just become integrated into your day-to-day life. What does that look like for you? And how does that help you make decisions like the ones that you're going to have to make?
I feel like I take it less seriously, and that's gonna sound bad, but I think it's kind of like if I'm shown something or feel something, I register that, I acknowledge it, and I think that information, and then I really trust myself to let it play out in the physical world, and that is, like, not something I was comfortable surrendering to a year ago, and I don't know, now it just feels like a little more natural in a way. It's almost like when you're learning a sport, you really have to like put a lot of effort into learning the techniques of the sport. And then after you've been playing the sport for a long time, you do them without even thinking about it. It feels kind of like that.
Mm. It's a good analogy.
What
Thanks.
components of your life in Boulder do you want to be in in whatever ends up transitioning?
Mm,
And which do you want to leave in Boulder?
yeah.
Boulder being like a metaphor, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mhm. I really enjoy access to the outdoors here. I think that's really important to me. I value like the neighborhood that we live in and how easy it is to walk Douglas around that neighborhood and like I don't know, I really honestly walking Douglas is like now one of my favorite things to do and it used to be such a chore, but it's just become part of my routine and I like it'd be hard to move somewhere where that wouldn't be possible or it wouldn't be safe. So that um I do like living in proximity to like coffee shops and like, I don't know, places where people are. Douglas is probably gonna bark because he hears the door opening. Um, and I love our, like, house and how cozy it is. I would prefer that some things in our house worked because I think sometimes it adds more stress to life that doesn't necessarily have to be there. If we could buy a new dishwasher or something like that, like, those little things sometimes
Any appliance
add up. Any appliance in
you
in
would
this
need
house is
is
not working.
broken. So
Yeah. Yeah, so it just, for example, our fridge freezes most of our food. So it's just like those little things that don't feel like a lot after a year and a half living here feel really unbearable at times. But I mean, I lived in a house without a kitchen for 2 years, so we're making steps, positive steps. Um, I mean, I think like my connection to friends here is important to me and yeah, access to the mountains.
Yeah. I think that like something with Boulder is that there are all of like those nice, like it's very outdoorsy, feels like, I don't know, like everyone's like very active, but it still feels like not super, I don't even know the word, but like genuine, I
Or
guess.
welcoming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feels like a little bit like, okay, you're here, like prove you can like do this or that, or
Mhm.
like prove that you're so successful that you can live in Boulder because
Yeah.
it's so hard to live here. Like it's
Yeah.
just like feels kind of icky sometimes,
I agree.
but yeah.
The traffic has gotten pretty bad. Like kind of little stuff like that, which,
And I think like
compared to Denver is not, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's also such a like when you think of Colorado, you think of Boulder. Like it is a pretty big tourist attraction, and I think that that in the summertime makes it a little bit like, oh my God,
yeah.
claustrophobic.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Ken, what did we miss that is in your journal?
Well, I have like 3 different pages, so I'm gonna try and find
Great.
the correct list. Um, I think that part of me potentially not having drive right now is just that I'm really tired
Yeah.
and that that feeling of being like uninspired is really a difficult spot for me to be in because I think I just really rely heavily on my like creativity, which I never would have thought I was a creative person, but I think now that I don't have like as much time to cultivate it, I think I realize that it's very much a big part of like what I need. Um let's see. So, I think that's just like a comment on the drive situation. I obviously we talked about like dating and I dated someone for a little while and that obviously ended since we're talking about dating other people and so it's been just like a transition to feel through that whole situation and process and what lessons it taught me and kind of like re-solidify what I'm looking for in someone in a partner and I think unfortunately I like there has to be depth in the person that I'm like seeing or dating. Otherwise, it's again, this can sound bad. It's just like it's not worth my free time. And I don't want it to be come across as though I've never had those experiences. Like last year I went on a disgusting amount of dates and I'm just kind of done with it. So that's like I think romantically where I'm at. We've talked about this on the podcast a long time ago when I first started feeling it, but there's been a lot of feelings that babies are pretty close to my life and so it's been like kind of scary and also like well scary in the sense of what if I'm right and also scary in the sense of what if I'm wrong because both of those paths feel like new territory, I guess. And anyways, but those feelings about like birth and being pregnant and all of that are just really really present in my life like to the point where like I am taking like pregnancy tests to make sure that I'm not actually pregnant because it's so strong and like just like randomly in random circumstances like feeling as though I'm pregnant and then hearing in my head oh like you'll be pregnant within 2 years and so that has been like an interesting thing to look at and also feeling as though and this can be like a controversial thing, feeling as though like my job this year is to like prepare my body for babies. Um and obviously it's like for me as well, but it feels like that is like a big part of what my year is supposed to be about.
Didn't
Um,
your Chani also have a lot of stuff about like you're
yeah. So
extremely fertile this year?
yeah, yeah, like it's weird because 27, so I'm 26 now. 27 has always been the year that I thought I would have kids, like or be like close to having kids, like since I was really young. And I am not obviously close to that at this point. Like I'm not with anyone. So it's kind of feels like a little ludicrous to be like in a year I'm going to be pregnant. So that my brain is having a hard time with that. But like I'm having like very serious birth dreams, like where I'm giving birth and I can like feel like obviously I can't feel pain, but like I can go through the process of that. And then yeah, my astrology for the year is also like a very very focused on like home, family and movement. And so in the Channy app she was like, yeah, if you don't want to become pregnant between March 2023 and March 2024, like you need to be extraordinarily careful. So that's also just like interesting information. Um, yeah, so just like funny stuff with that. Any more questions on babies?
I'm just excited. I think that I'm just really excited about the idea of you having babies before I have babies, because I know that that will happen.
I was just
Like,
about to say the same thing.
like I know that you will have babies before I will have babies, and I'm just like excited to watch you do such a good job, and then for me to try and like take that and put my own spin on it.
Well, watch
And
me like never have babies.
no,
I'm
yes, you
just like
will.
no, but it is like kind of a weird feeling to like feel that so close and then to not know who it's going to be with or not
Yeah.
like have that person in my life yet. Um, I do feel like I will meet that person soon, so like that is another layer of it. Um, yeah, it's gonna be an
Or
interesting
have met
time. Okay, Mallory. Yeah, true. Or have met them. You
Yeah,
never
I feel
know.
like we don't want to
Re-meet
cut out a
them.
large population,
You're right. You're right. I'm
Re-meet.
trying to stay as open as possible to how this whole
Yeah.
situation should unfold. So that is my job, is to be open to whatever. And also to like trust that my body is usually right when I feel things. So that's
Yeah.
also like another layer. But it sounds bad to like prioritize that, but it's like truly it feels as though my career is going to happen after more so
Mhm.
than before. And so it's kind of like yeah, I feel like I'm in the in between, like I don't really have to have like the end all be all decision for a career yet. Doesn't feel like
No,
it's necessarily time for that.
for sure.
Um yeah, any questions about that? I just have one more thing.
No.
Okay. My last thing is recently I had a big feeling about a way that I could potentially blend all of these things together. And it was the first time that any sort of feeling like that came to light. And so I don't know. I'm curious to see like if I do anything with it, if I still feel like I want to explore it in a couple months. But basically, like a lot of what I have been wanting to do is to write, but a lot of like I don't feel as though I want to be behind a brand, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to be the face of a brand. It's very stressful for me to like be on social media and like share my writing that is usually like very deeply personal and like kind of a lot for some people. And I think the one thing I've recognized above all is like the thing that I am good at, and you guys can weigh in what you think about this, is like I am good at communicating emotions and helping other people feel those emotions and tap into those emotions within themselves. Like I think at the root of it, that is what I do in readings, like kind of across everything. And these more like traditional certificates or degrees that I am thinking about getting, um, I think could kind of play into a situation where I create like a blog or a social media page specifically to share kind of writing in that way, and specifically for the purpose of like learning how to feel our feelings, I guess. And to me, like that can bleed into adults and also work with children. So it feels like it's not, I'm not becoming like a marriage, and family therapist and only working with adults or only working with kids. Like it feels, I don't know, like some of those things that interest me could play into a company like that.
Is this where the Substack came in to play?
Yeah, probably would. Yeah, I probably would do a Substack. And I think like I have a name for this. I'm not ready to share it publicly, but I think that the name like makes more sense once you hear it, like understanding the like all of it, how it comes together. And my therapist kind of called me out the other day because I was like, I want to do yoga teacher training, but I don't want to become a yoga teacher. And she was like, I mean, there's like, you still learn skills that like help you in a lot of other areas of your life or inspire you to do something else. So, yeah, I guess at this point on my radar is potentially that, potentially applying to a couple grad schools, um, and potentially just saying fuck it and winging it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think those are all good options, honestly.
Yeah. Or like you could do like a Patreon too if you wanted it to be like multimedia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Just your cute little face would be fun to see.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I don't know about that. I have a hard time like being consistent if I have to be on camera.
Yeah, that's what happened to my YouTube channel. I was like, oh, this is a lot of stress.
So much. It's so much.
I'm like, no.
And it's like, to me, it's like I don't want to distract from like the actual work that I would like to do.
Yeah.
But a
Totally.
lot of this comes, the biggest thing I think I'm dealing with right now is like the fear of failing and like really embracing failure as like a friend, not an enemy.
Mhm.
And that's been very difficult for me to kind of get past. So we shall see.
Well, and failure is all a perspective too. Like I was talking
Yeah.
to my therapist last week because I was going to take the lead climbing test at my gym, and I was like, I'm just so nervous about failing it. And she was like, okay, but is you not passing the test actually a failure, or is that actually like really great that you took it and you learned a lot from the experience? Like, why do you immediately have to frame that as a failure? I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, the things our brain does is really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, the one thing I was going to say about babies too is I don't know, I just have this feeling that I could potentially have children like out of wedlock. So that would be
That's hot.
That's hot. That's so sexy.
that is a definite
Out of wedlock. Are
Out
we
of
still
wedlock.
using this term?
Which I've always said like I would be absolutely fine with.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'll check back in a year and let you know where I'm at.
So am I going into wedlock right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're succumbing to wedlock.
You for
Yeah.
sure would not have a child out of wedlock.
I could be pregnant out of wedlock.
True.
That's true.
But you won't have a child out of
It's
wedlock.
unlikely that it is scientifically unlikely.
Yeah.
You will have a child out of wedlock.
Yep.
At this point.
Yeah.
Interesting. Can I actually like that for you?
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I kinda
eventually I would like to
yeah.
be married, but like,
But who
Eventually
cares
you'd
about
like
the
to
order?
succumb to wedlock.
yeah.
Who cares about
Yeah.
the
Well,
order?
and
Fuck
this
the
is part of the
order.
feeling that like I just think when I meet someone or be with someone that it's going to move very quick. So
Yeah.
that has always been my feeling from like day one, from like 4 years ago. Yep.
Any final thoughts, Ken?
No. Just
I
going to
think
sit in the mud for a while longer.
you dropped a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, this is good.
Thanks, guys. This is fun. Not very scary.
I'm excited to
I thought I would cry. I didn't cry.
I'm sorry we didn't make you cry.
Yeah,
I was really
apologies.
trying.
My bad.
That's really okay. I'm kind of cried out.
Okay. I'm excited for your future, whatever it
Thanks.
holds.
Me too. I'm really excited to play with your babies.
Thanks. I'm
Me
excited
too.
to have a really cozy home that you guys can come stay in.
And Douglas is
will
gonna
live
be
in.
so good
And
with the
live in.
babies.
Yeah, I was literally though thinking the other day, I was like,
gonna be good with babies.
Douglas is gonna be great with babies.
he's okay.
No, he's
I
gonna be
talked to my trainer about it and he was like, I'm not worried about him with babies at
I'm
all.
not worried at all.
Yeah.
Changing diapers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I was thinking, like literally just a couple of days ago, I was on my walk and I was like, wait a second. Who's gonna be in there when I give birth? Like, how are we going to plan to get Mal and Lara in the room when I give birth? And then also I'm like, they're gonna have to like stay with me for a couple weeks
Mhm.
when
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I don't know, it's just like a funny thought to have. I've never had a thought like that.
We'll figure it out.
No, we'll figure it out.
We'll
Yeah.
buy our way in or sneak in or
Mm-hmm.
We
make some-
actually are all a couple, so we all need to be in on this.
I'll get a suite, a hotel
Yeah.
suite.
I love
Yeah,
that.
or we just are your birthing doulas.
Yeah, actually there's time. Start the training now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can just be each other's doulas.
Okay.
Honestly, that sounds great to me.
Mal,
I
I
love
don't feel
that.
like you would like that job.
I don't know. I think
And
I'd
Laura,
be
I
a
don't
better.
think you would like
Yeah, I was like, wait, what about me? I don't know.
I don't think either of you guys would like that job.
I think I could do it.
Yeah,
know
I
how
think
to-
you guys
I
both
could do
could were
it.
I know
really
how to
capable of
deliver a
doing it.
baby.
No, I know. I think that you
Dear
guys
Lord,
could.
don't make me, but I know
No,
how
I just
to.
don't think that it would be like
How
your
do you know?
driving passion.
No, yeah, not my driving passion. I think it would be really rewarding to do it for you both. People
Yeah,
I
that'd be
don't
cool.
know. Maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
not.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah,
Mhm.
excited for your future. Stay
love you.
tuned to see what happens.
Yeah, truly stay
Yahoo.
tuned. I mean, it's gonna have to be figured out in the next 6 months, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we'll maybe
honestly,
do an August update.
yeah, literally.
yeah,
Or
for real.
September. Or September.
Septem-
Let's push it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, September update.
Yeah. Okay, everyone.
All
Talk
right.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.